join me at Rainbow Lake, Well, you join me here at Rainbow Lake, 6-acre gravel pit just east of Hull. And it's a windy one today. The lake was dug in the 1800s for gravel for a now disused railway line and was stocked back in the 80s, I think, and has received further stocking since. Yeah, so the fishing on this lake mainly consists of setting small traps over on the far margin and in the near margins. I'm using normal stiff rigs with braided hair, with IQ fluorocarbon as the main boom, and just a size 4 wide gauge. It's a barbless rule on here, so barbless rule. As the evening was coming to a close, I was watching the lake, brew in hand, when my alarm let out a few beeps, the line pinged from the clip, and I was in to my first rainbow carp. During the fight, the fish held deep, flat rodding me as it made an effort to reach the sanctuary of an old weed bed. Jesus Christ, it is pulling, isn't it? The carp then kited left in an attempt to snag me in the margins. Lowering the rod, tightening the clutch and applying steady pressure helped coax it away from the snags. The carp still had a lot of fight left in her, heading on more powerful runs towards the open water and stripping more line from my clutch. As the fish hit the surface, I knew the battle was over. I readied the net and drew the fish over the net cord. Once the fish was safely in the net, although not the most graceful of nettings, I could finally see that all my hard work had paid off. Right, so 26.5 of old rainbow mirror. She was caught on just a stiff rig with a boilie bottom bait. Boilie bottom, fucking hell. Over to far margin, over there, pretty much, yeah. After replacing the rod, I got in the bag and awoke to a brilliant sunrise. The night had been quiet. The fish topped over one of my rods, so I opted to leave them in place in order to cause as little disturbance as possible. Jack, however, decided to redo his rods, which didn't exactly go to plan. I've walked all the way around to bait up when this guy casts in, and he's just cracked off. Fuck's sakes. Somehow I've got to get hemp on there, but it will all be fine. The next session that I did on Rainbow was in late spring, May to be exact. I hadn't fished the lake for a long time due to my pastures campaign, which is in a previous video on the channel. Unfortunately, this overnight session was a blank, but I did manage to get down to the lake a couple weeks later, and that session went a lot better. That session of being in peg 16, I'd seen people during that 24 hours catching well on floaters, so that I decided to use for my next session. And in peg 22, myself and Jack managed to get the fish feeding very well on the floaters, and the bites soon came after.
Oh, that is an absolute bagger.
Well, I caught it on the top because it's just the one, isn't it? Actually, on the top, the one. You see it. After I released this fish back, a large thunderstorm rolled in, bringing with it very heavy rain, thunder and lightning. Well, as obvious with the thunderstorm. Despite the rain, the fish remained taking the floaters out in the middle of the lake, which is very surprising, as this is a very rare thing to happen. Once the rain stopped, Jack got the rod back out and hooked into a fish relatively quickly. But make sure he stays this side of the bar. I do not want him going in all that cabbage. Keep constant pressure, keep him moving. There you go. Keep him moving, constant pressure through the cabbage. There you go. Keep him moving. Is he out? Nice. Yeah, he's out. That was the last of the action on the floaters for the evening, so the bottom bait rods were prepared and flicked out just past the gravel bar in front of the swim. A cup of tea and my dinner was put on and I got into bed. The next morning I awoke to steam coming off the lake, but no bites to show for it. Myself and Jack began to feed the floaters again, and I soon hooked into a very powerful fish.
Jesus Christ. Do you have enough line on the spool for that?
What?
Is there enough line on the spool for that?
It'll be able to go over there.
Jesus.
Don't want him over there. Get him up in the water.
Run, lad. Keep the pressure on. Oh, is he out? Yeah. Oh. He's not happy. On a flat rod yet.
Keep him up there.
Oh, he's stuck, isn't he? Fucking hell.
You mad?
I was devastated at the loss of this fish, as it felt like a really good one. However, as always in carp fishing, there will always be the one that got away. We persisted with the floaters now, and Jack again hooked another fish. Make sure you keep him moving through El Cabbage. Don't let him get too far down there because of the cabbage on the bottom. Keep coming, he's black as hell. Oh, that's the crustiest carp I've ever seen.
Jesus. That is massive. That's not massive.
Oh my god, it's scaly as fuck.
What the hell? Like,
No, mate,
crusty
is
as
that
well.
fully? Mate.
We slipped that special carp into a retainer, and I got the rod back out, only to hook one moments later. That fish joined the other in the retainers, and then we got them out and had a good look at them. I put the rods out that night on zigs, hoping to buy an extra bite, but unfortunately I woke up to another misty morning without any takes, and that concluded that session on Rainbow. My next session was in mid-July, a 48-hour session with Jack. On the carp front, neither of us caught anything, but I did manage to catch a few perch, just drop shotting worms off peg 18. This was quite fun, so I'll make sure to bring a drop shot rod next time I come as well.
Is that photos?
Unfortunately, I lost one on this session on the floaters early on. After this loss, I decided that I wanted to stop with the stalking and get properly settled in a swim. I put out 3 spots on each spot in the previous swim I was in the last week, as I'd seen them showing in there on my final night. I got each rod out, feeling for the perfect drop, as I wanted all my rigs to be presented effectively. I wanted to make sure that I was fishing on the perfect spots, so I was in my highest confidence for the bite time the following morning. Just before 4 AM, the old Delkim alarm clock sounded, and after a tense battle through the pads, a nice mirror ended up in my net. Lovely. We'll cast a cluster. Let's go. Easy mid-20 mirror. Gosh. I slipped the fish into a retainer sling so I could have a better look at it once the sun came up, and after a beautiful sunrise, and I waited for it to get just light enough, we got the fish back out to have a proper look at it.
Your Crocs are sucked. Is he? Oh, caster clusters have done the biz. Thought that method would work.
The mirror slipped back straight afterwards, and later in the morning, coming towards the time where we had to pack up, I had a take on the left-hand rod, which somehow managed to kite on a long line without giving me any indication, going through my right-hand rod, which then received what I thought was the take. So I ended up playing the fish on my left-hand rod in with the right-hand rod. This fish ended up being a grass carp at 16 pound 8. It was a fish I'd never caught before, so I was very happy with it. This was to be my last session on Rainbow, as the lake had been sold. This is unfortunate, as I mean it's such a great lake, but all good things do eventually have to come to an end. I enjoyed my time on there thoroughly, and I caught a lot of nice carp. Well, maybe not a lot, but a few nice carp, but it's been a great campaign. I'll see you lot in the next video.